Hey all, this is 012 Boku coming at you with another movie review. And once again, I'm in my old room at my folks' house doing this for you because I wanted to do this sometime last week, but ran out of time, had a bunch of problems at home. But hey, now I'm back here doing it because it'd be the only time I think I would have to do it this week. So, once again, sorry it's been a while, but that's how it happens sometimes. And this time, I'm going to do a movie review, not another anime. I'm going to do the next James Bond film. And this time it is Honor Majesty's Secret Service. You guys can see it there. I believe you can. Trying to make the sun not be as bright with it. But yeah, there you go. That's a good shot. Honor Majesty's Secret Service, which is the only one to star the one-time Bond actor and I guess like TV actor, as he I think went on later and did a few more roles because George Lazenby's role is defined by this. And yeah, so George Lazenby stars as James Bond for this one picture in this one, and Honor Majesty's Secret Service is actually a rare, really good film. It's actually well done. It was directed by Bond editor at the time turned director Peter Hunt, who wanted to stick close to the books. So I think this is like one of the few films where they used, I think, most from the books. I mean, there were once again changes and things that were different because of locations and things like that. But the recent film was going to be Diamonds Are Forever, but I forget what Peter Hunt said the complication was for Diamonds Are Forever, so they couldn't do that one right away, so they had to go for the next best one, and that was doing Honor Majesty's Secret Service here. So that was going to be the next film in line, and the film stars once again George Lazenby right here, as you guys can tell on the cover, as James Bond in a one-time role. And I have to say, the story follows him trying to track down a mysterious, mysterious money purchases where he's not completely involved. He gets involved with another character who I'll explain in a moment, but he gets involved with a bunch of mysterious money purchases in the, I believe it's the Swiss Alps, where he's in the Swiss Alps and he's tracking down Blofeld, of all people, again, who's trying to use people who have links to foreign dignitaries, the English Prime Minister, people in America, and stuff like that. Like these group of women who have extreme fears, and he's using a technique to brainwash them to get them to do what he needs so he can take over money, power, and basically rule the world, which is what Blofeld has always wanted to do, and be an extortionist as well, as you know, because he's always been obsessed with money. But Lazenby plays Bond like Sean Connery. Not his choice, not his choice. It's how producers Harry Saltzman and Albert R. Broccoli wanted him to be like. They wanted him to be like Sean Connery, since Sean Connery was their guy. And in my opinion, I think that's where the mistake was, because Lazenby should have been his own Bond and he should have not tried to emulate Connery. But once again, I don't blame Lazenby for that, because as you listen to the audio commentary and special features on this film, that is what the producers wanted. And believe it or not, Lazenby, I think, is the first Bond to not come from the British Isles. I think. because Lazenby is actually Australian. He was an Australian model and commercial maker who they had seen, I believe, on a trip in Australia or on a British television commercial, so one of the two. And they picked him out and thought he would be a great Bond, and they loved his look, they loved his sex appeal and what he could do, and Lazenby did have the success going to his head because he thought he should have been the star more and gotten a bit more of the attention and because when they were filming the film, when they were filming the movie on Her Majesty's Secret Service, you had everybody else, Diana Rigg, Gabriel, the guy's name again, Gabriel Ferzetti, Ilsa Steppett, all the other actors, Desmond Llewellyn, Bernard Lee, Lois Maxwell, Telly Savalas, Diana Rigg. They were all having a party, having a good time with each other. And Lazenby, I guess, was irked that he wasn't the main guy of honor. And I think it was, Albert R. Broccoli's wife, Dana Broccoli, who asked George Lazenby, what was going on? What was the problem with him? Why was he irked by this? And he's like, well, I'm the star. I should have been the guest of honor here or had the type of attention because I'm your guy's, big star, I'm just a little miffed about that because, Lazenby admitted he was angry and it was probably a wrong thing to be angry about. And I guess Albert R. Broccoli overheard this conversation with his wife and Lazenby, and he came over and said, George, I know we get it, and I get it, I understand. But here's the thing, you are the main character and the star for this movie, but the true things that will make you a star are the fans. The James Bond fans who've been through, one, two, let's see, Dr. No, Goldfinger, or no, Dr. No, For Much of a Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, You Only Live Twice. Okay, so for 5 films, so for 5 Bond films, that the fans have been through, they have to decide whether you are the star. And I think it was a good way of putting it because it is the fans who ultimately can make or break a movie. And George Lazenby, really got hampered for it because a lot of people were saying, nobody's going to replace Connery. Who's this young Australian? We don't know. We don't get it. Blah, 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 blah. And, I mean, it was relentless. And you did feel for Lazenby. You felt for the producers, Harry Saltzman and Albert R. Broccoli. Everybody else who was involved, Peter Hunt, the director, because it really was a witch hunt for the press to just discredit the whole movie company as a whole. But when you see Lazenby, because that's a bit of enough backstory, when you see Lazenby, he does do an alright Bond. He's not the greatest, he's not Connery, and he's also not Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, or Daniel Craig. You see where he did act like Connery, but in a way he had his own essence of bringing it in doing the character. And, Lazenby, did what he could, and I think he was alright. I don't think he was complete trash or terrible, as a lot of people were telling me who had seen the film or had seen parts of the film. I literally thought watching... One is 2 hours and 22 minutes. I forgot how long the film is. Pretty dang long Bond film, personally. I found out that that I didn't find out that for me personally, he was alright. Lazenby was okay. He wasn't the greatest, but he did the parts, did the action scenes, had the character down for what he could do, and I give him a lot of credit for that. And I give him a good performance rating. I mean, it was okay. It was decent. It wasn't the greatest. Like I said, it wasn't Dalton. It wasn't Brosnan. It wasn't Craig. It wasn't Moore. It wasn't Connery. Sort of was his own thing a bit with some Connery-esque stuff in there, but he did an alright job, I think. And Lazenby was great as well in the stunt scenes he was a part of. He was great in the action scenes. You could tell he really wanted to bring it. The production crew and the director said he really did not know how to cut to the wire. He really fought off the stuntmen like they were actual henchmen, and really took it to Telly Savalas, who he treated as a villain. All these things. I mean, don't get me wrong, Lazenby knew it was a film, but he really got into the character and did some great action and stunt work. So credit to you, Lazenby. And I guess on a final point, because I know I've been talking about Lazenby for 10 minutes, as I can see by my counter. But the final point is that the reason Lazenby didn't work out was because one of the points was the Bond film, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, did make good money. It made a lot of money, but not as much as the previous films. So that was one of the reasons for the X. Number two was his publicist and manager. Lazenby's publicist and manager said that he would not do another one. Lazenby had never confirmed this and or never agreed to it. So, I mean, he never said he wanted to quit. He never said he was done. But, Albert R. Broccoli, Harry Saltzman, Peter Hunt, and a few others got a wind of this, and they chose to also let him go because of that. So it's really sad. And as Peter Hunt said, if Lazenby had stayed on and he kept going and he actually fell into the mold of Bond like Connery did, like Moore did, like Dalton, Brosnan, Craig, would fans have warmed to him? You can never tell. But in Peter Hunt's mind, he thinks if Lazenby stayed on, Lazenby would have formed his own idea for Bond, and he possibly would have been one of the best Bonds. And I think maybe that could have been true because Lazenby had it. He did have an edge. He did understand the character. He knew what he needed to do. And, so he really did have stuff there. So credit to you, Lazenby. Credit for being really good at what you did. And then let's see. I believe, there's Diana Rigg, who played Tracy, and Diana Rigg was from Avengers fame. If you guys know the original Avengers TV show, not the Marvel one, but the sort of spy superhero show and movie that they did that was called The Avengers, and Tracy was a girl who met Bond through her father, Draco, who was trying to lead Bond on the course of Wolfeld's entanglements in with his company, and he met Tracy at a party. Plus, there was the part at the beginning of the film where Tracy was trying to commit suicide, and I guess Draco's men was trying to stop her or catch her. And believe it or not, in the beginning of the film, Draco's men tried to kill Bond, but Bond in a great ocean beach fight scene at the beginning of the movie fights them off, and gives a great opening to the film. And Tracy actually sneaks and takes off again, and he said, and they give Lazenby a great line to say where he looks at the camera, breaks the fourth wall, and says, this never happened to the other, this never happened to the other fellow. And believe it or not, they said that line got a good laugh, even though it was a fourth wall break. And Bond meets Tracy throughout the film, and there's a part where after Bond agrees with Draco, Tracy's father, to go after Blofeld on his own merit, Bond joins Draco at a party, at an Italian-Spanish party at their house, and he meets Tracy there, and I guess Draco made this plan for Bond to possibly be in an arranged marriage, or says, if you help me with Blofeld, you can have my daughter's hand in marriage, you can have all these great things, and I'll give them to you, which Bond wasn't for, because I think Bond knew he was an agent, and he needed to stay that way to protect himself and others. But when he sees Tracy again, and he actually spends, maybe a day or two there or so, he actually starts to fall deep in love with Tracy. And Diana Rigg actually gives a good performance. She gives great warmth. She seems to know that I think her father is somewhat involved in shady businesses with Blofeld, with outside of the family, with however the fortune and things were made over the years. But Draco seems to have a good heart, as does Tracy. And Diana Rigg shows that. There's a part where in the middle of the film when Bond's trying to escape Blofeld, Tracy actually finds him, and they go on this good, huge car chase throughout the Swiss mountain area, and they do what they can to escape Blofeld and his men and Irma Bunt, and you basically see where they get to a point where they're hiding out, and Tracy says, I don't know why I'm in love with you, but I am, and then Bond reciprocates that love for her. And he's like, you complete me in a way that I've never felt with any other woman. You make me feel weak in the knees. You give me everything I need, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And, it goes on and it gets great. And there's a point where Tracy gets captured by Blofeld because Blofeld causes an avalanche that traps Bond and Tracy. Luckily, neither of the two are killed. Like Blofeld thinks Bond is, but he sees that Tracy's alive, so he takes and captures Tracy and forces her to be his lover, which she doesn't go for. She plays on Blofeld because she knows Bond's going to try to rescue him. And leading up to all these things is Bond wanting to quit MI6. M approving that Bond can go after Tracy and stop Blofeld, and all these different things. Bond gets help from Draco, and all the meanwhile Tracy's streaming, or basically, or stringing Blofeld along. Blofeld doesn't know any of the difference, and they basically fight against Blofeld. Bond takes out Blofeld in the picture, and Tracy and Bond end up getting married. Now, spoiler, because I don't know how far you want me to go, and I probably said a little too much already, but there's a point where, like I said, Bond and Tracy end up getting married. And as you know, if you've seen any of the Bond films later on, Bond is no longer married, and you see where he gives flowers to a grave to his wife and stuff like that. And if none of you know and haven't seen the film and you want to see what happens, I'm going to spoil it for you, so there's a spoiler, so I would urge you guys stop watching now. Give you a count of 5 on my fingers. Okay, and when they're married, they're going down the road. Bond stops on the side of the road to take out the just married stuff so they don't attract too many onlookers. And what happens is you have a scene where Blofeld and Irma Bunt come down the road, and they shoot up, Bond's car, trying to also kill Bond, but they miss. And Bond gets in the car, and, he's trying to tell Tracy it's Blofeld. And when he looks in the car, he realizes that Tracy was shot in the head by one of the bullets from Bunt and killed. And, Bond is in complete shock. He doesn't know what to say. He cradles Tracy. There's a cop that comes up and says, "Are you guys all right?" And Bond looks at the cop, and once again, credit to Lazenby again, because he really worked hard on the scene to work up the emotion, to get a tear in his eye, and or to cry, but it's at a point where he doesn't cry, but he says, and the production team said it was all raw emotion from Lazenby, where he's like, she's okay, she's resting, she'll be okay, we have all the time in the world. We have all the time in the world. And after he says it a second time, he cries, and it's silent for a bit before the bomb thing plays. So Diana Rigg gives a great performance as Tracy, and you really buy into the love that the two characters have. And Lazenby did a fair job himself, so once again, credit to both actor and actress. Then I believe it's a no-brainer. It's, oh yes, it is Telly Savalas, who continues on as Blofeld. And to point it out shortly, if you guys have never seen any of these films, the the films take an interesting point. Like Blofeld has always been played by interesting characters and interesting things and stuff like that. And like we've never really either seen Blofeld or he's been silent where he's had the background where he's played by Anthony Dawson and then voiced apparently by Michael Bollinger who does his voice or Anthony Bowling, whoever they seem to get like for the voiceover to do Blofeld. And like as you guys know from You Only Live Twice, as I said, it was Telly's or not Telly Savalas, Donald Pleasance who took over for Ernst Strabo Blofeld, and did a great job. He was calculating, he was evil, he was very devious in the role, and was perfect for Blofeld. And he's my top favorite Blofeld in look and acting, and just like having that cold, emotionless, almost demeanor. Now, I don't know why they didn't talk about getting any of the actors who played Blofeld before back, but they went for somebody new, and for this one, they got Telly Savalas, who I think was a very good choice because Telly Savalas, once again, can have a look of Ernst Strabo Blofeld. They kept the bald look, so Telly Savalas doesn't have any hair or nothing. But what I like about Savalas is where, Donald Pleasance was a bit more smaller in stature and calculating and cold. Savalas gave Blofeld a bit of more warmth. Like, he has emotion in this one. Like, he can be a suave, sophisticated, and really good guy. But the thing is, he has this ruthless, tough man mentality that I love. And it really shows within his intelligence, too. So, Blofeld still is very intelligent, being played by Savalas, but Savalas brings a ruthless, tough man mentality that really comes out and shows very well in the film. And also Telly Savalas is Blofeld because I guess he was trying to be this count whose family was born without earlobes. He had to have throughout his entire film like his earlobes tied back behind his ear, which sounded very painful, and they didn't talk about it much, but I gotta admit, probably had to be uncomfortable for Telly Savalas. But he really had a huge stature and had the intelligence, but he was really like a ruthless, tough guy who you did not want to mess with, and he had it in his voice, his stature, how he acted. Like he was almost presented as like I could even take Bond one-on-one and kill him. And that's what I also love about Savalas. Savalas is the only Blofeld to get physical with the James Bond character. And I mean, he does. There were points where they were using guns to both shoot at each other at high neck speeds. They were both involved in that speed chase where the avalanche was caused. They both chased after each other down a mountain. They were both in a bobsled chase, which was a fantastic thing in the story and stunt-wise, where an actual two men on bobsleds were going on this like melting bobsled run at 60 miles an hour top speeds, where they were crashing into each other, fighting on top of it, battling each other. So Blofeld really gets hands-on in this movie, and I love it because you don't see that in any other film. And Telly Savalas captured the tough man, ruthless aggression of Blofeld perfectly. And, beautiful just how Telly Savalas played him. So my second favorite Blofeld, and when we get to Diamonds Are Forever, we will talk about Charles Gray. Oh my God. I mean, no disrespect to Charles Gray. He played an alright Blofeld, but not really his fault. That was once again more the producers and director. I don't know why they went with it, but we'll get to that when we get to Diamonds Are Forever. Oh, and also, Bond believes he kills Blofeld in this because while they're on, once again, spoilers, so... Okay, So yeah, there was a point where um, Blofeld and Bond, when they were fighting on the skis, like Blofeld was on top of Bond, pummeling him and pummeling him hard, almost getting to the point to kick him. And there was a tree branch coming up to where Bond kicks Blofeld off, and he gets caught on this tree branch where his neck gets wedged in this V within the branches, and it looks like he broke his neck. But it turns out I think he just got like whiplash, or maybe he did break his neck, but he was still alive and he was still able to move around and do his stuff. But he was in a neck brace at the end of the film when you see him and Irma Bunt try to kill him, and they end up killing Tracy. So you really see that Blofeld did not get away without certain scars. Oh yes, and there was also Gabriel Ferzetti, who plays Draco, Tracy's father, who owns, I believe, Draco Industries, it's called, who is losing money to Blofeld and this genealogy thing, and there's been stuff going through his company where Blofeld's been messing with them, and he actually kidnaps Bond at one point and forces Bond to meet him at his office, which Bond is prepared to kill Draco, but Draco offers a proposition, and that's the whole, you help me get Blofeld, I will give you my daughter's hand in marriage, and you can help me out there. And Gabriel Ferzetti was a good actor. He really seemed to enjoy the role. Once again, another actress who could not speak a lot of English, so Gabriel Ferzetti had to be dubbed over again by somebody else, sadly. And but you can tell he really had a great time in the role. He enjoyed what he did. He enjoyed what he had to do as well, and he really Draco becomes a great friend of Bond. Like, he has a warm, loving personality. He's there to back him up when Bond's in trouble. One of Draco's men helps Bond throughout the mission in the Swiss Alps, and also, I believe, in part of the German countryside when they're chasing after Blofeld. Either that, or maybe that guy was MI6. I'm not too sure, but Draco seems to supply for that, and then Draco actually is a part of the assault team to go help find his daughter when she's captured by Blofeld. So he goes with Bond. He actually throws Blofeld off his trail for them being like Italian Red Cross workers to get people to a hospital, I think in Germany or something like that. And Draco is just seemingly this warm, loving guy who seems to be there for Bond in a pitch, which is really, really cool. And or not pinch. And he's just a really, really cool all-around character. And you also have then finally Ilse Steppert, who plays Irma Bunt, who is an actual German actress who I believe they said spoke good English. So I think we're actually hearing Ilse Steppert's voice in this movie, doing the character. And she was one of the top henchmen of Blofeld. We actually never get to see her get killed in this movie, so we don't know what happened to Irma Bunt in this series, but she is one of the few henchmen of Blofeld's that actually survives. And Irma Bunt plays his character that as or Ilse Steppen plays the character of Irma Bunt as, she's kind, she's calm, she's collected, she really believes in what Blofeld's doing, or the Count at that time, as he was being lied about with. And but when things go south and sour, she's really a tough, calculating, cold, harsh woman who will do whatever she can to make sure Blofeld's plan comes into fruition. And Ilse Steppen played that really nicely. She did a really good job as this henchman villainess, and she really believed in, she really came across that she believed in Blofeld's ideals. So Ilse Steppen did a great job, a wonderful part in the movie, a pretty decent part from the middle onward to the end. She was the one who had the, like I said, who had the machine gun in her hand when she was shooting up the car, and Tracy sadly ended up getting killed. So it was all these interesting things that Irma Bunt was a catalyst to, that Ilsa Steppe got to play and did a really good role for. And once again, if you want the other side characters, Lois Maxwell returns once again as, oh yeah, Miss Moneypenny. So that's once again cool. You got Desmond Llewellyn again as Q, Bernard Lee again as N, and a few other good characters and devices sprinkled about. And I also have to say, when M, Q, and Moneypenny see Bond get married, both Bernard Lee, Desmond Llewellyn's reactions and acting, and it is very good and very crisp and genuine, and they seem to care for Bond all throughout the film. And man, Lois Maxwell is Moneypenny in this movie. When you see her in the beginning, she's in the typical Moneypenny guise, doing what she can. But when Bond gets married at the end, and you see how Moneypenny's dealing with it, she almost feels sad because she's happy for James, and she's happy for what she can achieve. But Lois Maxwell brings that happiness out. But you also can see in Lois Maxwell's acting that there is a huge sadness to where she brings out and says, why couldn't that be me? I'm glad James is getting married. I'm glad that he's having this in his life, but why could that not have been me? And you see that in her mind very clearly. And when Lazenby Bond throws Lois Maxwell Moneypenny his hat, like Lois Maxwell hits the heartstrings at home, where she's very sad. She sort of sniffs the hat as Moneypenny and like holds it close in a hug, and it was a nice, tender, sad moment that I loved, and Lois Maxwell delivered perfectly as Moneypenny. And so there's all those good things. You also had once again, great. Let's see. I think do they have the score for the people in this movie? Oh yeah, John Barry does the score, and once again another great score rendition by John Barry, and it was very nicely well done, very greatly put together. Lovely score, lovely parts for the fight scenes, the intensity of the score of the music, and also the beginning where you have the theme for On Her Majesty's Secret Service being played, which is the only other instrumental besides the first Doctor No film. That instrumental part, the da 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 da, and that great one. Great instrumental score scene, great stuff for the film. Great opening title sequence too. We see all the different Bond films that Connery did and where they've been to at that point sprinkled out and about. So very cool homage to Connery in the beginning. Peter Hunt is the director too. You gotta give the guy credit. The guy knew exactly what he wanted to do, knew a lot from editing, all the other previous Bond films that he's been a part of, really loved the character, really knew Albert O'Rourke or Saltzman, had all his great connections. So I have to say, great debut for him as a director, and really good film. I really have to think, like what a lot of other people say, On Her Majesty's Secret Service really is a true forgotten gem of the Bond series, and it is one of my top favorites. Maybe that's what I'll do when I'm done doing all the Bond films, is I'll do a top 10 favorite list of all the original Bond films, and I'll tell you guys which ones are in my favorites out of all. I think 20 or 22 at the time of the originals. I forget how many, but I know there's been quite a bit. So out of the original 20 or 22. So yeah, but this really is a true gem that a lot of people forgot about. Oh, and it's also written by a longtime Bond collaborator who once again really stuck close to the story in the book, Richard Maybaum. did great work in this movie. So great work by Richard Maybon too. But once again, what do you guys think? Did you guys end up liking this movie? Have any of you seen this movie? Because I'll tell you what, if you've not seen this movie and you're a Bond fan, I would say try to find it streaming, try to buy it, try to get it, or rent it if you can, however you want to do it, and see this movie because it really is a good Bond film. Great story, great action, pretty dang good acting from everybody involved, even George Lazenby, and I would see it because it is a great, great film, and it is a really, I think, misunderstood Bond film. And if you have a chance to see it, please do because it is phenomenal. And I would give it a 10 out of 10. That's how much I liked it. I mean, it was a really, really good film. A really good film. And that ending with, once again, Tracy dying and Bond feeling that sad about it, just really good writing and really well done by the actors. So, this is 012 Boku signing off with another movie review. Once again, let me know what you guys think in the comments if you want to give them. And I will see you again with another film, okay? Alright, later.